According to the Johnston rules, as the heir, your whereabouts must be reported full-time. It was the second year of marriage. When the dutiful Carrie and her suddenly returned ex-boyfriend, Calvin, disappeared for nearly 48 hours, I knew something was different for her with this man. And me? As the eldest son of a top-level family in G-City, I've never lacked suitors. I believe in quality over quantity in marriage. When the business convoy pulled up at the estate, I was standing in the courtyard, head down, lost in thought. Laughter interrupted my thoughts as two smiling people got out of the car. Edward, the man called to me, his smile fading. His voice was warm, with a magnetic charm that could easily win people over. It made me lift my head immediately. Such obvious provocation almost made me laugh. I turned to Carrie. I knew she wouldn't let outsiders humiliate me. But Carrie just took off her headphones and handed them to a staff member without meeting my gaze. Edward, I'm Calvin. I just got back to the country. Nice to meet you, he said, extending his hand with a smirk. I don't suppose you know the Johnstons' rules, do you? I replied coldly, ignoring his hand. What Carrie means to the Johnstons doesn't need explaining, right? My stern words shook Calvin's handsome face. Sorry, Edward, he muttered apologetically, glancing at Carrie. It's my fault. Carrie stepped forward, frowning. She rarely showed such an unsure expression. Looking at my cold face, she seemed a little helpless. Edward, I was just showing him how G-City has changed over the years. Yet, I felt like the defenses in my heart were breaking down. As the sole heir to the JK Group, I had known Carrie as proper and restrained from the day I met her. Even as her husband, I'd never seen her lose her composure. By the way, Calvin just returned and doesn't have a place to stay. He'll be with us for now. Can you arrange a guest room? Carrie said, taking off her sunglasses and adjusting her hair with grace and detachment. What? I was stunned, thinking I had misheard her. Edward, please handle it, she added, walking off towards the manor. That night, for the first time, I made a request to Carrie. Send him away. Carrie paused at my words, her gentle eyes showing an unnoticeable chill. Edward, he's just a distant cousin. Grandmother asked me to take care of him. As she went to the study, I was preparing to issue my ultimatum, but ran into Calvin in the hallway. Edward, he barred my path with a new face altogether different. You have so much. Can't you let Carrie come back to me? I stood in shock, arms crossed. You're gutsy. His fingers brushed his neck, revealing a red mark. Well, don't blame me then. I watched him walk away, mystified. I never expected what happened next. The next morning, my frown deepened as I was awakened by a commotion. From the second floor, I looked down to see the noble Carrie knelt beside Calvin, carefully working warm oil into his ankle. The sight was like needles piercing my heart, unseen, yet incredibly painful. Edward, you're awake? Calvin looked up, sounding guilty. It's my fault, wanting Carrie to teach me horse riding. I didn't expect Hurricane to buck me off. Luckily, Carrie caught me. Otherwise, it would have been worse than a sprained ankle. His gentle voice washed over me. I staggered, gripping the railing until my fingertips turned white. Hurricane, Carrie's prized horse from Europe, was never entrusted to anyone, not even me. Edward, I have things at the company. Can you look after him? Carrie said as she put away the ointment. Feeling a sting in my heart, I faced the pair, fury rising within. Who is he to warrant my care? The hall fell silent, and the nearby servants discreetly withdrew. Edward. Carrie's voice was icy, holding a warning. What are you throwing a tantrum about? She sighed with exasperation. Calvin chimed in, sorry, Edward, for the trouble. His eyes reddened. If you're aware, then scram out of here right now. Edward. Her voice was scolding, larger than my anger. I fell silent, taken aback by her demeanor. For the first time since our marriage, she had embarrassed me in front of others. As my husband, can't you have a little tolerance? Carrie said, supporting Calvin as they left my sight. The sheltered man turned at the threshold, smiling slyly. You lost. Quiet settled, and I laughed bitterly alone on the couch. 2 years ago, it was Carrie who proposed to me. Amazingly, only 2 years later, there were cracks. On the way to JK Group, I called the Smiths' private lawyer. I asked them to draft up a divorce and resignation agreement to separate Carrie and me completely. The voice on the other end hesitated. Edward, does the family know? Keep it secret. Don't forget who you work for. I gritted my teeth, my nails cutting into my skin. Understood. I'll contact you in 3 days. I hung up as my car pulled up to the JK Group building. Early in our marriage, I'd left my company to follow Carrie here. Getting out, I stared at the looming business empire, feeling like I was stepping into a prison. Who would have thought that something that started off so passionately would end on just an ordinary morning? I'm Edward. If someone else touches my stuff, it's considered dirty. I don't want anything dirty. So, Carrie, you really don't understand me at all. I was just about to leave the top floor of JK Group when someone called out to me, Edward. I turned around to see Shirley, Carrie's friend. Looking for Carrie? She asked, eyes intense. Why did you choose her? I was taken aback. I could always feel Shirley's unusual attention towards me. I know there's a guy making moves lately. I bet you wouldn't bother competing for the same girl, right? She whispered with a smile in my ear. So, maybe consider me next? I tilted my head slightly. Her warm breath brushed my face, making her freeze. So eager to be my backup? I chuckled. Lots of ladies want to date Mr. Season as long as I get a spot in line. I couldn't help but laugh at Shirley's humor. Suddenly, I was pulled aside with a strong force. Shirley, Carrie called, her face stern and displeased. She dragged me into the office, shut the door and said, Edward, stay away from her. I frowned and looked away. Why? I asked. Carrie calmed down from her earlier temper, her face turning serious again. Still mad? Is it because of Calvin? She sighed, sitting on the couch. I told you he's just a distant relative of the Johnston family. His parents were attacked abroad, so he was sent here to G Country. She pulled me to sit next to her. What are you worried about? Do you really think I'm the kind of woman who can't control herself? I lowered my head, about to respond, when a knock interrupted. Carrie, there's a package addressed from Edward. So the front desk sent it to the CEO's office, the assistant said, placing it on the desk before leaving smartly. Carrie giggled, pinching my shoulder. What did you send that required a delivery service? She asked as she went over to it, not noticing the storm brewing within me. When the package revealed its contents, a sexy piece of lingerie, Carrie's ears turned red, something rare for someone usually so composed. Edward, is this your taste? She hurriedly closed the box and turned to me. I was so angry I almost laughed, my chest aching. I threw the package to the floor, feeling anger bubble up. This isn't from me. Funny, right? How many husbands do you have? Carrie froze, a sense of panic crossing her face. I don't know who sent it. She rushed to explain. I crouched down, picking up a card, trembling. Carrie, hope you like my gift. From Calvin. Carrie, I spat, tossing the card at her. Do you act like I don't exist? Is my reputation something lowlifes like him can tarnish? My anger spilled out. What's next? Are you going to say you were only talking if you end up in bed with him? Carrie's forehead wrinkled in distress. Edward. She barked, trying to hide her anxiety. Mind your words. What lowlifes, he's part of the Johnston family. I laughed bitterly, stepping towards the window, feeling drained. Carrie, you've never let me touch your motorbike, so why let Calvin ride it? When we got married, I said I wanted to go bungee jumping, but you said it was forbidden for the Johnston children, so why did you take him skydiving? And the night before you were out all night, where were you? I watched the traffic below, tears escaping my eyes despite my intention to leave her. I used to never shed tears like a coward. I quickly brushed them away, like they were never there. Carrie stood frozen behind me, confusion in her eyes. I didn't think it would be a big deal. He was upset about his parents' situation and wanted to skydive. He hadn't been back long, got sick from it, and I couldn't leave him alone at the hotel. I cut her off with a raised hand. Carrie, you aren't naive enough to think nothing happened that whole night. I saw the marks on his neck, clear as day. Carrie, panic-stricken, desperately countered, but we didn't do anything. Her demeanor became defensive as she hugged me, warmth enveloping us. I frowned, about to push her away when the office door burst open. Carrie, you... Calvin stopped short, his voice dying in his throat, hand clenched around the doorknob. The moment evaporated, the mood turned tense. Carrie's eyes darkened. She tossed the package at Calvin's feet, explaining. It was the first time Calvin had seen Carrie so cold, and it scared him, his eyes welling up. Carrie, you've misunderstood, he said, picking up the package and approaching me. I bought this using Edward's name, but I meant no harm. I didn't want to cause trouble. Tears began to fall as he confessed, Edward, this is all my fault. But he stopped, shivering under my icy glare. Misunderstanding? I scoffed, looking down at him. Calvin, save your stupid tricks in front of me. Keep your tail tucked. The room grew quiet and tense. Carrie stepped forward, taking the box to shield Calvin from my venomous stare. All right, everything's cleared up. Just go, Calvin. Wounded, Calvin said. I understand, and hurriedly left, covering his mouth as he fled. Carrie turned to me, the misunderstanding was cleared up. Don't be mad, Edward. I glanced down at what she held, finding the situation almost comically absurd. I met her gaze, utterly serious. Carrie, do you know what I hate the most? She hesitated, puzzled. What? Betrayal. I watched the white clouds outside, my eyes filled with hate. You should know about the Johnston scandal. My dad ended up with a car accident, bedridden ever since, all because my mom cheated on him. So, I spun around with cold indifference. If you dare betray me, I won't let you go. Carrie heard this, a flicker of worry hidden in his deep eyes. No, I won't. Later that night, Calvin was sent to the Johnstons' old house. Carrie and I made peace again. The next night, I was sitting on the couch, mulling over the idea of asking legal to withdraw the divorce papers. Just then, Carrie showed up, bringing a battered and resentful Calvin before me. Earlier that day, Carrie went to the old house as his grandma commanded, to discuss a takeover. But as he reached the back garden, he heard a nasty argument and frowned. You're just an outsider to the Johnston family. What right do you have to live in the main house? Even my mom can only live in the annex. Calvin, everyone knows you sent the master a bathrobe at the company. Don't you have any shame? The man's still around, and you're already trying to seduce him? Do you even know how to spell shameless? The girl was talking while raising a wooden stick and hitting Calvin hard. I didn't. Calvin hurried to deny. I didn't seduce Carrie. You're really misunderstanding. The girl paused, spat at her. Misunderstanding? We all heard the master talking to your aunt on the phone this morning. Yet you dare retort. With that, she raised the stick again. Stop. Carrie stormed in, his face dark, power radiating off him. Have you lost your minds? The girl looked wide-eyed, dropping the stick, trembling. Co-cousin? You're saying Edward called my mom this morning about Calvin? Her eyes were gloomy. Yes, I overheard by accident. The girl dropped to her knees, fearing punishment. Carrie took the disheveled Calvin to the car, lit a cigarette, his breath shaky. Carrie, the man beside him spoke, his head bowed, full of grievance. I've already moved out. Why does Edward still do this? My parents are gone. I have no one. What did I do wrong? Carrie's hand on the steering wheel tightened instantly. Images from 15 years ago surfaced unwittingly, when her family of 4 got caught in a terrorist attack abroad. Her brother died shielding her. So when she found out Calvin's parents died in a foreign riot, it was like seeing her helpless past self. I'm here, she said. Calvin smirked slightly, flashing a look of triumph. I watched the woman who, without asking, decided it was my fault. The part of my heart that once bloomed roses for her now felt barren. Carrie, do you really think I'm the kind who stabs people in the back? I glared at her, fists clenched, but spoke coldly. My pride couldn't let me back down. She helped Calvin to the couch, stood up with disapproval. Edward, I've told you, there's nothing between me and him. Following your wishes, I sent him to the old house. Why can't you leave him be? Calling my mom to badmouth, inciting the old house folks against him too. I was shaking with anger. Carrie, am I that despicable? Let me tell you, if I really wanted him gone, do you think it's hard for the Smiths to make someone disappear without a trace? Carrie's face turned to ice. Edward, you can try. See if you can make him disappear before I wipe out S Group first. Silence fell. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, my body wavering with disbelief and grief. The whole thing suddenly seemed absurd. This marriage with Carrie absurd, ending over some random man even more so. I'd never seen such a dark side to Carrie. Didn't expect the most noble, composed woman in G-City could lose control over a man. Ha, Carrie, now I see, our feelings were nothing but a joke. And I despise jokes the most. This game, I'm done. You two carry on. With that, I turned and left. Having said those words, Carrie was taken aback herself, with an unfathomable regret. Let's calm down, said the woman's voice. I paused, a cold smile on my lips. Next day, the legal team handed me the divorce and resignation agreements. I left them on Carrie's desk, avoiding everyone. I called a close friend sitting in my Benz. Get some good stuff at night bar. This young master is back. The guy on the other end gasped, his scream piercing my eardrums. Edward, you've finally seen the light. I revved the engine. Joshua, keep it cool. As soon as I entered night bar, Joshua grabbed me and we sank into a sofa, snapping his fingers. Instantly, 10 top-tier women strutted in. Brother, this is your liberation gift from me. Joshua waved a bottle. Take your pick. It's on me. I felt a vein throbbing on my forehead. Maybe it was the sudden release of my pent-up nature, but I felt a rare sense of freedom. Come here, I beckoned one over. Pour some drinks. The woman's figure was flawless, but she moved hesitantly, watching me frown. After a couple of bottles, I was starting to feel a bit hazy. That's when the room door flung open. Blinding lights made me squint. I eyed the shadow against the light and smirked, walking up with interest. This one's nice. I wrapped my arms around her. Edward, who am I? She asked angrily. I squinted at her. Shirley, cut the crap. The next day, I rubbed my sore head. Honey water. A woman wrapped in a towel, with her hair still dripping, was drinking a hangover remedy. I looked at her, feeling slightly undermined. How could she be so relaxed? But I didn't expect Carrie and I to keep crossing paths like this. Just yesterday we exchanged harsh words, and today, boom, we both show up at the hotel. And we had different people beside us. Weird. Edward? She exclaimed in shock, instinctively shielding the timid Calvin behind her. Why didn't you answer my call last night? I raised an eyebrow. Seems like she hasn't seen my 2 agreements yet. Her question made me laugh. Forgive me for being blunt, Carrie. I glanced dismissively at the guy behind her. Do you really think now is the best time for this, considering how we're all standing? Carrie finally seemed to notice the chemistry between me and Shirley, and it sunk in. What are you doing here? She looked straight at me with anger. I chuckled. And what are you doing here? Feeling out of place again? The faces of both of them froze, especially Calvin, whose jealousy was bubbling over. He clutched his legs stubbornly, trying not to show weakness in front of us from these top families. Carrie instinctively distanced herself from Calvin, looking at me and Shirley with a sense of heaviness. Edward, can we talk? There must be some misunderstanding, she asked earnestly. There's no misunderstanding, I replied, taking Shirley with me, leaving both of them standing there with complicated feelings. That night, I heard the sound of a fingerprint unlock at my private residence. Carrie appeared, her usual tidy hair slightly undone. That's when I remembered, in a fit of romance back then, I had added her fingerprint. Edward, Carrie looked deeply at me. What is this? She placed the 2 agreements on the table. Isn't it obvious? Or can't you read? I sat on the sofa, feeling irritated and sarcastic. Is it because of what I said that day? I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Carrie frowned, her usually deep eyes looked lost. Can we go home? I've already sent Calvin away. Her eyes were serious, just like when she promised not to betray me in front of those floor-to-ceiling windows. That time, I was genuinely tempted to let go and almost contacted legal to void the agreements. But Carrie, I clearly said I hated cheating and betrayal the most. A month later, due to how enmeshed Carrie and I have been over the years, especially Carrie's firm resistance to divorce, our divorce proceedings hit a standstill. Today marked Grandma's 80th birthday. Despite the tension with Carrie, she's always treated me well. Edward, I'll pick you up at noon. Seeing the new number on my phone, I blocked it. This was the umpteenth new number Carrie had registered to bug me recently. At noon, just as I prepared my gift and headed out, Carrie blocked my path. Edward, she looked at me. Her usually composed face carried a subtle plea. At least today, can't we keep up appearances for Grandma? I calmly got in the car. Why not make use of a free chauffeur? Should I act like a novel's leading man and dramatically tell her to get lost because I don't want to see her? Too dramatic. Fine, but on the condition that we get the divorce sorted. No point dragging this on. I looked out the window, not even bothering to glance her way. Carrie's face stiffened, showing newfound confusion and helplessness. Does it really have to come to this, Edward? All because of skydiving, horseback riding, and helping him with his travel sickness? Nothing happened that night. I sighed, wondering if she was genuinely oblivious or just pretending. Carrie, it's not about crossing lines, but allowing him to repeatedly show up and taunt me. Even if nothing happened then, infidelity is just a matter of time. In my life, Carrie, you're the only one who's ever tripped me up. If I acted like some small-town fool crying over a woman, I'd discredit the years of elite education I've received. Carrie silently listened, my words hitting her heart. We soon arrived at the Johnstons' old residence. Grandma was beaming, pulling me with her warm, aged hands. For someone with a less-than-happy upbringing, it made me feel emotional. Edward, you're here, she exclaimed, ignoring Carrie. Come, see all the dishes we've prepared for you. The table was covered with all my favorites, truly a feast. People aren't made of stone. Feelings are inevitable. Carrie. A cheerful voice cut through my thoughts. Hello, sir. Calvin turned to me, politely greeting. I smirked. This guy is a real piece of work. Carrie watched me with an unchanged, cold demeanor, feeling increasingly uneasy. Why are you still here? Didn't someone tell you to leave? The man's joyous expression froze. Carrie, Grandma chimed in at the right time, inviting us all to sit. The seat across from Carrie was left empty, reserved for her late brother. A sacred spot for the Johnston family. Calvin, unaware, boldly sat across from Carrie. Instantly, the lively hall fell into dead silence. Everyone stared at Calvin like he was an idiot. Get up now. Grandma's outburst made everyone's hearts tremble. Calvin shot up, feeling completely lost under their scrutinizing gazes. He instinctively glanced at Carrie for help. I simply sat, arms crossed, relishing his discomfort. Go sit at the back, Carrie instructed in a low voice, finally breaking the oppressive tension. Calvin, engulfed in shame, shuffled to the furthest corner. Grandma, here's a longevity painting for you, I said as I rolled out a piece of art. I made it myself. Being the top figure of a prestigious family, you've seen it all. These days, for people like you, it's the thought that counts more than the price tag. Great. Grandma's face lit up with a big smile. Edward is so thoughtful. After sitting down, I caught a glimpse of Calvin in the back. His face was full of jealousy and resentment, barely held in check. I sneered silently. I bet he's just starting to realize how impossible it is to climb the social ladder. In the restroom, I looked at the twisted face of the man in the mirror behind me, feeling speechless. As I brushed past him, feeling pretty smug, aren't you? Calvin's face was dark as rain. Did you know, Edward? I heard about you before we even met, and nothing disgusts me more than your high and mighty air. Like you're above us all. I looked at him out the corner of my eye, calm and cool. You're right. I am high up there. That's the power the Smiths gave me, I said with a cold laugh. I don't care about you at all. What are you to me? Not someone Edward would ever notice. I'm out of your league in looks, education, and status. Don't think seducing Carrie gives you an edge over me. A woman likes a little fun on the side sometimes. I sneered, leaving him shaking with anger, yelling and screaming alone in the restroom. In the car, hidden in the shadows, Carrie spoke first with a hoarse voice. Whose is it? Our last time was 3 months ago when I went to Europe. None of your business. We're already divorced, I said plainly. Carrie suddenly grabbed my shoulder. Edward, I haven't agreed. I winced in pain. That's your problem. Then I gave her a mocking smile. Don't play the victim. It's laughable. Carrie released me, realizing her act. I only had that one time with Calvin. I swear. She explained frantically, a woman in distress. He said he wasn't feeling well, and I didn't want to upset you by bringing him home, so I took him to a hotel. Carrie looked pained, with self-hate written all over her face. Once inside, I don't know what happened. My mind got foggy, and I mistook him for you. Her voice broke, with a sob I'd never heard. I swear it was just that once. Remembering something, she deleted all of Calvin's contacts in front of me and had him sent away to the States. Edward, I'll never let him come near you again. She pleaded, eyes full of anxious hope. Please, forgive me once? I watched Carrie, this once high-status woman in G-City now looking so low and desperate. There was a peculiar feeling in my chest. Hearing her apology and remorse, I thought I'd feel triumph, but I felt still inside. At that moment, I saw Carrie could no longer affect me. Carrie, did you know? 24 years ago, my mom was caught cheating by my dad. She cried, even begged on her knees for forgiveness. My dad forgave her, only to have the mistress with a 2-year-old child come and challenge us. He was older than me by a year. How absurd, right? If not for my powerful grandfather, there might not be a Smith family today. Carrie sat still, face paler by the second as she listened. So when I saw you break your rule and skydive for him, I knew our marriage was over. Yes, I did love you after we married. That's why I gave you a second chance. But the moment you kept letting Calvin provoke me, defending him, you lost the right to be Edward's partner. I just saw him and thought of my brother, she said weakly, head down. I lost my patience. Stop using your brother as an excuse for your cheating. It's despicable. Carrie's fingers trembled, looking defeated. The car stopped. A pause before I opened the door, turning back to her. Carrie, let's part amicably. I don't want us to end up in court. The next day, a heavy rain poured. I stayed home and got a message from Joshua. Dude, is that Carrie outside your house? I was just coming over to hang. I paused, looking at the video. Carrie, in a drenched outfit, her neatly styled hair limp from rain, seemed miserable. Bro, I'm out. Deal with her first. I stared out at the pouring rain through the curtains, lost in thought. An hour later, Carrie was still there, with no sign of leaving. I grabbed an umbrella and went outside. What are you doing? Not holding the umbrella over her, but standing 3 steps away. Edward, she said, you said your dad kneeled in repentance. Now I'm kneeling before you, asking for forgiveness. I swear this won't happen again. She pulled out a folder. This is a property transfer agreement. Everything under my name, including JK Group shares, will be yours, unconditionally. If I make another mistake, you can kick me out with nothing. Carrie presented the agreement like a sacrifice, hands quivering with autumn chill. Her voice was anxious, shivering slightly. I sighed. Why, Carrie? The broken mirror can't be mended. Just go. The rain hit her face, making it hard to tell rain from tears. She looked so high and mighty before, now reduced to begging, eyes red with helplessness. I turned to leave, hearing her sobbing apology behind me. Sorry, Edward. Later that day, legal called me. Carrie's agreed to divorce, they said. They were geared up to fight for more assets for me. But unexpectedly, Carrie voluntarily handed over all our marital property. I paused, staring at the astronomical figures, and laughed. Who says no to more money? Time moved quickly. Shirley's pregnancy showed more each day. On the due date, Grandma came too. Her eyes red. She cursed. Carrie was such a fool. Edward, Grandma will always be your grandma. That'll never change. My eyes instantly teared up. Yeah. The baby was a girl. I named her Kathy. All I hope is for her to be happy every day. Maybe it was the love skip a generation thing, but her arrival seemed to lift the cloud over the Smiths that had been there for years. I saw Carrie again at Kathy's first birthday party. She had changed. The harshness in her brows was gone, replaced by a gentler look. How have you been? She asked, handing me a pouch. I asked for it myself to keep Kathy safe. Thank you, I said, taking it and looking at it. Carrie glanced at Shirley, who was all smiles, and her face fell a little. Regret filled her days now, wondering if without that one moment of madness, would she be enjoying family happiness today? Is Shirley treating you well? Carrie asked, pulling her gaze back. I smiled softly. Yeah, she's great. Carrie nodded, eyes downcast. That's good. I watched her walk away with no real feeling, because what I have now is my most precious gift.